Staying with Afghanistan, it has survived on international aid for decades. 4 decades to be exact. It is one of the poorest countries in the world. More than 70% of its population lives below the poverty line. 90% survives on less than $2 a day. And while the international community continues to hold talks, negotiations, other diplomatic efforts, the people of Afghanistan are struggling for 2 meals a day. The humanitarian crisis is quickly spiraling into a catastrophe. Widespread loss of income, cash shortages, rising food costs, water shortage, and severe droughts. Amid growing fears of an acute malnutrition and an outright famine here, the UN Secretary-General has once again appealed to the donor countries to now find ways to inject cash into the Afghan economy.
I urge the world to take action and inject liquidity into the Afghan economy to avoid collapse. Clearly, the main responsibility for finding a way back from the abyss lies with those that are now in charge in Afghanistan. Since their takeover, the Taliban have at various times promised Afghan citizens, including women, children, minority communities, former government employees, that they would protect their rights.
Now, Antonio Guterres reminded the new regime in Afghanistan of the promises made to the women and girls in the country. He made a heartfelt appeal to the Taliban to fulfill their obligations under international human rights and humanitarian law.
Broken promises lead to broken dreams for the women and girls of Afghanistan. Since 2001, 3 million girls have enrolled in school and average schooling has increased from 6 years to 10. Women and girls need to be the center of attention. Their ability to learn, work, own assets, and to live with rights and dignity will define progress. 80% of Afghanistan's economy is informal, with obviously a preponderant role of women. Without them, there is no way the Afghan economy and society will recover. I strongly appeal to the Taliban to keep their promises to women and girls and fulfill their obligations under international human rights and humanitarian law.
In his closing remarks, the Secretary-General of the United Nations reminded the global community of their duties towards the people of Afghanistan. He announced the foreseeable repercussions of an unprotected, unstable and uninhabitable country.
This is a make or break moment. If we do not act and help Afghans weather this storm and do it soon, not only they but all the world will pay a heavy price. Without food, without jobs, without their rights protected, we'll see more and more Afghans fleeing their homes in search of a better life. The flow of illicit drugs, criminal and terrorist networks will also likely increase. This will not only badly affect Afghanistan itself, but also the region and the rest of the world. We all must do our part. Thank you.
And for more on this, listen into this report sent by our correspondent Susan Tehrani from New York.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, speaking to reporters here at the United Nations on Monday, slammed the Taliban for its broken promises towards Afghan women and girls, while also warning of a looming humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, saying women and girls need to be, quote unquote, the center of attention, and that the country's economy and society will not recover without women and girls. The Secretary-General also called on the international community to inject cash into Afghanistan, or else the country would face a full economic collapse. The UN has been delivering life-saving humanitarian assistance to the people of Afghanistan since the Taliban takeover, with the coordination of the Taliban. And while the UN Secretary-General had hard-hitting words for the Taliban to adhere to international law for women and girls and other minority groups, it's still not clear what measures or consequences would be taken upon against the group if the Taliban decides not to change course. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.